I've introduced you to Richard's work to a certain extent. Now let me introduce you to the person himself. I introduce Richard Paul.
Thank you, Gerald. It's a pleasure to be here once again in this 30th year of our efforts to foster critical thinking across the curriculum and into every aspect of society. Critical thinking has to be learned one person at a time. Everyone must learn critical thinking for oneself and must do this learning in the active constructivist mode. No one can construct knowledge for me or for you. Each of us must construct knowledge for ourselves. Part of our brain tells us that we already know what we need to know, and everything that appears to us to be true is true, and everything that makes us uncomfortable is false. And that critical thinking is especially important for our neighbor. So ultimately, critical thinking enters human reality through the minds of each of us. And each of us bring it in imperfectly. No one brings critical thinking into their life in a perfect way. Each of us are not only to some extent critical already and honor criticality, but usually more to show the weaknesses of the things we disagree with and the points of view that we don't accept. But in us is a voice. It's our voice of conscience and our deeper self, which can begin to process reality for ourselves in ways that enable us to grow as thinkers and learners, and therefore to grow as teachers and students, as mothers and fathers, as citizens, as historians. It will be, for all of us, a personal journey. So I thought what I would do for you this morning, and for myself perhaps, is to role-play some different voices. And in role-playing those voices, I will be hoping to capture within them the manner in which the ideals of critical thinking become grounded in individual experience. So let me begin by role-playing for a while a student that I'm imagining now. This is a student who has gone through many courses in which critical thinking has been honored. This is a student who has attended courses registered and participated in courses in history, and in those courses their instructors emphasize historical thinking. And this is a student who now values historical thinking because he has learned how thinking historically helps him gain an insight into himself, his life, and the life of our species. In English classes, this is a person who has learned how to enter, deconstruct, understand, and gain insights from literature. And this person values literature as a way of understanding some of the deepest problems that we face. This is a student who has taken courses in sociology and realizes that unless you can think sociologically, you will live within the society, you will be controlled by the values and the orientations and the point of view of the dominant groups in that society, but you will never take charge of those groups. You will never be able to situate yourself in such a way that your ordinary way of living is emancipatory for yourself, freeing you. Because if you're not free from the mores and the folkways and the taboos of the particular social group that has cultivated and raised you, then you forever think within those boundaries. And this is a student who, in short, has been lucky enough to have teachers who taught their content as a mode of thinking. And so, if they taught biology, then they taught biological thinking. If they taught anthropology, they taught anthropological thinking. And the students who left their courses left having acquired a new way of thinking and had the pleasure and the joy of now moving across subject areas and integrating into their mind multiple ways to think about the world. So now let's imagine this student speaking to us about his or her education. What I value about my education is that it has empowered me as a thinker and learner. I realize now that education is for life. Education is a process that never ends if you understand who you are as a member of the animal kingdom, as a species. As a species, I now recognize we are Homo sapiens. To be a human is to be a thinker. But to be a human thinker is not necessarily to think well. I realize now that I have constructed much ignorance in my life. I've constructed false beliefs that are part of me. I have constructed as well some insights. But the insights and the prejudices get mixed up in my mind. So that sometimes I think I'm speaking and defending an insight when actually I'm defending a prejudice, a narrowness. And so I see my mind as something that must be continually reconstructed in order to develop for the whole of my life as a learner. Now let me stop there and think about this student with you. To what extent are our students coming out and thinking this way? And how many are coming out thinking in the following way? New students, typical students. Graduation day. Thank God it's over. Thank God I'll never have to have one of those boring textbooks to read. Thank God I don't have to listen to those boring lectures. Thank God it's over. I have my education now. Now I can go out and live, enjoy myself, free from the boring tomes, the long, drawn-out memorization, things that I've had to memorize. That's now over. My education is complete. I'm ready to make a lot of money. Hopefully occupy a high position. Think of those two voices now. The voice of the student who is now a student. The voice of the student who will be a student for the whole of his life, or her life. The student who can critique him or herself. The student who can construct new beliefs. The student who knows that within his or her mind are false beliefs as well as insights.